So, hello and welcome to the 1% podcast. Today you have Mr. Tim Drummond on. Now, slightly different podcast this week, a different topic. Typically each week I will either be talking myself, but mostly getting my own existing, old, current clients to talk about their experience, the journey they've been on, and ultimately the personal development work they've been doing and the power it's had. I thought it'd be interesting this week to spin that on its head and talk to one of my old coaches, because I always say to people, if you're going to work with a coach, if they haven't had a coach, they haven't had therapy, they're a fraud. Because who am I to help people to charge a premium? Am I the finished article? Am I fucked? I need help just like everyone else, both with the business and on myself. And actually, what is now the 1% started when me and Tim did some work together. And I was in one of Tim's mentorships and coaching programs. So I thought it'd be really interesting to get Tim on and discuss that, right?
Yep. We met, didn't we? We got a referral from Danny, I think it was. And I remember us speaking, and there was a little bit of turmoil going on. It seemed like on the call, although that was a sort of side thing to what we thought we were there to speak about. When was that? 2020?
Oh yeah, like we were just saying, just in the thick of COVID, basically,
wasn't it? And I think you hired us as business coaches, which I think was Luke's one of the people that really ran with it a lot. And we did a lot of the other stuff, the more personal work, which I wouldn't have thought that you probably would have expected. Up until then, I was a trader. I was a futures trader when I left university. Was terrible at it, was crap. Got sacked. If you lose money, they tend to sack you. The kind of trading that I did, it's a bit like sort of football management in the sense that you lose your job and you can probably go and get another one. Like you can probably just go and get, and I was like a futures trader, like a short end. And to be honest, I just hated it. Didn't like it. It wasn't even that I wasn't very good at it. I just wasn't motivated at all. Like the guys around me were just properly on it, there at their desk every single day. And I just really had no clue what I was doing. This was, I don't know, early 30s. And then I just decided to become a personal trainer, really, because I just liked nutrition. I used to go to the gym a lot and read a lot when I probably should have been working. And never thought it wasn't even a plan. It wasn't like, well, I'm going to go and make a big business or make money. I was just like, I've got no fucking clue what I'm going to do. So did that, enjoyed personal training, and then tried to go down like the rehab route, and just was not very good at it. Like there was a lot of guys around me that would see the way people moved and all this, and I'd just been like feeling like massage, and I was just like, I've got a fucking clue what you're talking about. Like I can't do any of this, and everyone else really got into it. And then I kind of stumbled across what I in the end coined behavior change coaching, but people called it mindset, or the books I was reading it would have called it mindset. And it wasn't like this was a big thing in the fitness industry at the time, but I realized that I was quite good at that. Like I liked like problem solving. I couldn't do it with people physically. I just seemed to enjoy, okay, now I could get my teeth into something in the fitness industry. At that moment, to be honest, I got a bit bored. It was just a bit boring. And then I really got into it and started sort of scratching my head when I was reading like all of this stuff about why people don't make change and that, but then doing it with clients as well and being like, oh my God, like I've asked this client these questions and I've done these things with them and all this stuff gets revealed. And I'm like, what the hell? Where it's like I guess it's like the red pill, right? You just like, you're introduced to this new world that I didn't even know existed, when I'd get really frustrated with my clients for not going to the gym and just don't eat the pizza, don't eat the donut, just what's the matter with you? And so then we started the Institute of Fitness Behavior Change. It was did a marketing business, I guess you could call it. It still is, but I did a marketing business, and then obviously Phil, me and Phil, my ex-business partner, just were like, let's just do it. We'll go all in. That was a couple of years before COVID. Then obviously COVID happened, and you arrived on the call, and I remember, I don't know, you sort of said a few things on the call, I remember, and you were like, yeah, I'm struggling, but you did say a few things, and I was like, okay, I think this guy really does need to do this. And I don't know if I was hopeful, actually. I'm not sure if I was. But obviously you got a referral, so you came back, and then we didn't do, and the
rest is history, right? And something you said there about, because when I joined it, I think, amongst other things, part of it was helping refine what you do, how you coach, and the sort of the structure that goes in behind that. And you sort of realize sometimes you've been doing things to help people, without knowing that there's like a mechanism behind it or there's thought or science behind it. So it's like, oh, it just makes sense that rather than just shouting out to someone to do something, you ask them a few whys and get to the root of an issue and go, you can solve that. But I guess it was putting a coherent structure around that for me, which was super helpful. The other part was the reality when we spoke, I think I was just starting to do like some therapy and stuff and like unpicking all that kind of thing. And before that, I'd done nothing. It was like, the childhood didn't affect me. It was all fine. Just get your head down, crack on. And I was very kind of unknowingly stoic in how I used to approach things, but a bit more like mindlessly as well. And what was really interesting about your program was that ostensibly I joined it to sort the business out, right? I wanted help sort of getting clients, getting leads, making a more robust system. I think the thing I kept saying to you is I want to was it grow up or mature the business or something? I can't remember the phrase that I used. And just getting some coherent stuff around that to help support the business. But as I'm sure any business owner would probably relate to, like you are your business to some degree. And so to think that not doing work on yourself isn't going to then help the business, that's it. And I think for you guys, what it felt like, I don't know, because I didn't have any experience otherwise, but was unique was that there was like two kind of work streams. There was right, we need to work on the very practical nature of your business, your delivery, getting leads, and like growing that, but then also you as a person. And I think that was really powerful. And so like I definitely went on quite the journey during that process, and it massively helped. Like, and it's the things that I do now for my clients, and that I get my clients to do a part of the process, were things that I was like, what the fuck is what is some of this stuff? But then it kind of translates and sort of trickles through, right, and then becomes your bread and butter. And so I guess it was that working on myself plus the business was what kind of helped catalyze the change and growth into what's happening today. Like I was definitely doing some of it. But it helped me, like any coaching process, helps you point things out and look at things in a different way, right? For example, I wasn't working with guys straight away, like, more exclusively working with guys before we talk with you guys. Well, what do you want to do and where do you want to be? And I still do have female clients in the B2B offering that I work with ladies, but like the majority of my forward-facing business is guys, and you help me sort of think about that and refine it. And it makes sense because it's sort of I can relate to them and there's elements that what I do. And so it was really powerful. But I guess what's interesting is for anyone, if they are listening, is like, I think we often think the problems we have in something are, it's the obvious thing, it's the business, but also like, how am I behaving? What am I doing? And it was helping me see both of those pieces. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was always the plan. I had a standard business coaching program for personal training. It wasn't though that I didn't bring in stuff around how to deliver online programs, because I was a personal trainer, of course, and I did it. So of course I did. But then it was when me and Phil decided to do it properly together, because we stopped working together, and then we were like, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all in. And it was a bit of a jump because, you do slightly not muddy the waters, but because you're talking about the coaching. By the way, for anyone listening, like the definition of coaching that me and Luke will use, if I say that to a personal trainer, their brain often just goes straight to like, strength and conditioning coaching. That's what they often think coaching is. And I'll come back to what you said about like that you're already doing some of this stuff as well. And so we said, right, we're going to go all in. So we did muddy the water, but at the same time we were like, I know that's probably not fair to say muddy the water, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to sort of put a stake in the ground and go like, we're going to do things different. And we always wanted to teach people like, get your clients to look at themselves, just telling them what to do. Just it goes in one ear and out the other. But that's not because they're bad people. It's not because they're stupid. It's not because they're just lazy, which most personal trainers think. It's like there's more depth than that. I would say what happened over the few years is that we ended up going to a lot more depth than perhaps maybe we thought we might have. And I don't think that was a bad thing. I think it was a really good thing. A lot of you guys that are about like really, there was always sort of discussions about even just certain terms and stuff like that. It's like, we need to avoid this term. We'd avoid certain words and certain things in the marketing, because we also knew that most fit pros don't think it's what they need. It's like your clients, they know something's just not right or something, but they don't know what it is. And if you try to sell them that often, like, this is what it is, they're probably like problem aware, like, or pain aware even. They're probably not even problem aware yet. They don't actually really know what the problem is. They just know something's not right. And so we attracted people that were really focused on wanting to help their own clients as much as possible, while also make money and, you know, build a brand and build business, build leads. And I think over the years, a lot of the work we did with you guys was work we did ourselves as well. Like, we went quite deep, and I agree with you. I'm like, yours the limitations to your business. Like, you can have a massive success, of course, by the way, and there's loads of your clients probably you know, got much bigger businesses than me. You can do it for sure, but if you could take that same person and just help them work on some of the things that are holding them back, that they might not even know, or even if you look at it to help them improve, like performance coaching,
Yeah, 100%.
not only how much better it would be, there'd be better people to be around, and it's more fun, and I'd say it's less stressful. So that's what we started trying to thread towards everyone that was in the program. And then to a certain extent, some of you guys picked it up and ran with it yourself.
Yeah.
Some people, I think, were just like, I don't know. I remember that Ali said that she turned up on the first call and she was like, what the hell? She's like, I couldn't believe it. Like, me, I was talking to like Mike, and Mike was, no one knows his surname, by the way, so I can say this. Like, Mike was like nearly crying on a call, and she's like, what the hell have I just joined?
Yeah, exactly.
And
it was,
a lot of people
yeah. And I was like that at first, but then I was like, I often always had the mindset of like, well, fuck it, you invested in this, just go with it and see what happens, right? And
but it makes sense as well, right, Luke? Like, when I first started doing this kind of more deeper work about, I was really, I spoke to this guy, and I'd always go towards him. Like, he was a personal trainer with one of my gym, and then I'd be like, oh, this fucking mumbo jumbo, what the hell was this? And then I'd go back about a month later and start chatting to him. And then one day he's just like, look, you clearly want to do this. We're going to do it properly or not. Right, let's do 12 weeks together. And I bottled it, and I said, no, I just wasn't ready for it. So I think, like, for you, Luke, as well, like, you could sort of see that there was something there. And I think a lot of your clients like that.
Yeah. And sort of, it's funny, like, once I was saying to you, I was like, yeah, but personal development doesn't pay the bills, right? Which to some degree is true, right? Because you need to have a functioning business. And if you just spend your whole time self-analyzing and all the rest of it, I think you can go too far one way. But I think there needs to be an element of that. And it's the same with the work that I do with my clients. Like, there's very practical stuff we do, which is super important. But if there are blockers and things that are holding someone back, be that practical mindset, whatever, if you don't address that, you can just be stuck in those same negative feedback loops and patterns of behavior. And I guess the same works for your business or yourself, right? And having someone help shine a light on that and address that, I believe, is incredibly powerful. And that's, I guess, that's also sort of the foundation of how I like to work. I think part of it is the stuff we need to do, right? Be that habits, behaviors, setting boundaries, whatever. But we also need to address what's stopping you doing the things and what's holding you back in the first place, and helping you shine a light on that. And for me, that bit's actually, I would challenge, more important than doing the stuff. The way I kind of like to think about things is doing both those bits at the same time. But I think, well, often in a lot of people try and do stuff for themselves, for the business, whatever, they're very tactically focused and want to do stuff. But like, if there's something that's holding them back, it's hard to see that. And that's where the power, I think, of coaching is. It helps you shine a light on stuff. And I've said this to my clients all the time, is like, the most powerful conversations with a coach usually are like, are you fucking kidding? Like, because you just go, what? And it's so obvious once someone said it to you and pointed it out. But the reality is, when you're stuck in it, you just don't see it. Like, the analogy I give is like a golf swing. Like, you know, someone, a golf coach has got a bit, and they go, just move your foot 1 inch that way. Fucking hell. But you can't see it. And so you need to be shown that. And so a lot of the stuff, and what I hear a lot from my clients, is like, I kind of knew all this, but I just wasn't doing it in the right way. And then they do it. It's like, oh yeah, because it is just hard to sometimes process this stuff without an external third party or that objectivity, right?
I mean, for me, like, I would always have a coach. Like, I lucked out. The first person I ever worked with was a guy called Glenn, and he was a business coach and he was a sales coach. I didn't quite realize at the time, like, how good that experience was and how good a coach he was. Because often it would be just him asking me a question. Like, he would ask me a question, and I'd I'd know the answer, but the fact that he asked me it and I had to verbalize it out to someone else,
Yeah.
and then I would just sit, even as I'm saying it to someone, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. This is ridiculous. This is, what am I talking about? And he was I've only ever really, apart from the guys that worked for us, there was one other coach that was in traffic and funnels, a guy called Matt, who was incredible, because the difference between these two coaches and everyone that I've been around as a business coach is someone will show up and they'll ask a question, and the coach will more than likely just, I say everyone, most people, the coach will just answer the question as it's presented. What Matt was very good at, and Glenn was actually asking follow-up questions to make sure that it's the right question that's being asked.
Yeah.
And for me, that was really powerful. I don't just, when someone asks me a question, especially now I've been doing it for so long, most of the time I know the question is the wrong question, but they don't know that and they'll get defensive. So you have to keep asking these questions and get into helping the person see what the real problem is.
Yeah.
And I think Glenn was really good at that. For me, like, coaching is an ongoing thing. Like, I would always have a coach, and it's not just well, I just do it and then I don't, because I'm like, why would I not want this situation? I've got a great coach at the moment. Like, he's very good. I like the coaches that I can speak to. I don't need to know me or anything, like, but I like coaches that don't just give you the first answer and then get you away. And that's something that I think that Glenn was really good at, even if it took, I remember we had a coaching call. I don't know if you want it. And it was like, I'd just done 3 hours of coaching in the first program. And then I think the second one was 4 hours. That was like 7 hours of coaching. I think Alex got 2 hours of a coaching session. And that's because actually, like, when someone starts, like you said, you already done it. When someone asks you a question and it just hits you in the face, like, for me, that's worth the whatever it is people spend on the program. Like, just one question can be enough to go, shit, I never thought that way. And I just think it's information. And I bet, I imagine that's what's happens in your, I know it is.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is, as well, like I said, often the answer, or when you get it, you start saying, you're like, oh, what am I doing here? And the other thing, I think, as a coach in a post process, especially a group process, you'll find that in coaching and listening and hearing the other questions coming out, you start to almost like help coach yourself a bit. You're like, oh, hold up a second.
You realize how ridiculous someone else is when they say the thing that you're saying. And you're like,
exactly.
Now, because we all think we're special. I think it's huge.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think with a lot of the guys I work with, and I have it as well myself. Right? I think we think our problems are unique. We're special. There's some sort of magic to our problems, and I'm not saying that in a belittling sense, but there isn't. And actually, then when you get thrown into a process, when you see that and the wall's pulled up, you're like, oh, like I give this example quite a lot. There's a gent who's still in the program at the moment. He'd seen a post of an old boss / colleague of his, very openly talking about the process, and he was like, right, I'm not in a good way, I need to do it. We arranged a chat, had a call, and he was like, we had a good chat, and then he missed the fact that it was a group. At the point I said it was a group, it looked like I hit him with a cricket bat. He's like, I don't know. And he was really, really, and I'd say probably of the guys I speak to, 50% are like, I'm not sure, but okay, I get it. 30% are like, oh, no, I don't know. And then probably the last 10% is a deal breaker. They just won't even contemplate it, which is what it is, right? He was in that 30%, but probably right at the end of that 30%. And he, when I spoke to him, eventually he was like, right, fine, yeah, I need to do it. I trust the gent that he'd seen, so I'm going to do it. But I need help, right, fine. Got on the call, the first call, worked my way around to him. So right then, how's your first week gone? He just went, it's not just me. Like, just the relief, like that. I think that in itself, I spoke to him since, he went, that was worth it. Just that. Like, and so that's an example of, and that's not everyone, right? But that's an example of how powerful sometimes it doesn't need to be a big thing. Sometimes it's just a change in perspective can have a pretty profound effect, right? But I think the group thing, I'm biased, I've got a group program. Most of my coaching is group, not all. But I just think it's so powerful because of that. And it's one of those ones, it's hard to really experience until you actually feel it and see it yourself and you're in the environment, because like you're like, well, what am I going to learn from the people? My problem's unique, and that's how do I know? And I don't want to hear someone else talking about their problems, but even if you've got that mindset, you throw someone in a group, they just change instantly. They go, oh, right, yeah, shit. Oh, and it is just super powerful, right? And I guess
I'd say, like you said like that you're already doing some of this. Like I agree with you. Like I had a client called Chris one of the first clients that I had that did really well financially, and he sort of turned up in like week 3 or 4 of my program, was like, "Oh my God, like I've been doing most of this already, but just no one ever told me like that this was something that we
Yeah.
should or could do." And he was like, no, he didn't know everything. There was a lot he didn't know, but he knew like 50% of what we were getting him to do. He's like, I just didn't have a structure. I didn't know that it was a thing. I didn't know you could do it like this. Like he already knew a lot of what to do. And I think I can see that with people that come in the program at the beginning. I can see the ones that are just totally new to this, or I can see the ones that are like, hey, I've probably already been doing this. Even if it's what you said, which is, well, you know what? If I'm going to work with someone who's successful in life, me just coming in and telling them that they're a pussy and just to sort it out is probably not going to work.
No.
They're not going, yes, Luke, you know, or yes, Luke, the one that didn't have any kids and just swanned around going to Ibiza and just enjoying himself with his missus. Like, yes, you know all about me. They'll just lie to you. They'll be go, yeah, and then they'll just go off the call thinking, or the session thinking, what a fucking idiot. He doesn't have a clue about. And I think a lot of even just that, knowing that I can't just bulldoze my way to get these clients to do what I can do as a 25-year-old. I think one of the things that was interesting that you clearly didn't have was a group process. Because I agree with you. I saw something about, it was an interview. It was actually a therapist, and he was talking about that he was a part of a clinic. I can't remember what the clinic was about. I can't remember. And he was like, the most powerful they used to do one-to-one therapy, because this was like an actual clinic that you went to, and then they would do group coaching or group therapy. Now, we're not therapists, but he said that the power of that is much, much bigger than the one-to-one, because you'll sit there and number one, you'll hear other people say the things that you're thinking, and it helps you go, oh my God, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only weirdo. By the way, men don't tend to think like this. But also I would add in there, I think that if you have a problem or something that you feel, and again, I don't know how many people would resonate with this straight away, like that I feel shame about, the fact that you're in a group and you can say it out loud to people, like you can learn to say things in front of people like, I don't feel good. Men don't generally use words like I don't.
No.
They'll use other derivatives of it, but it's what they think or feel. Like people coin it like imposter syndrome, for example, or whatever it is. Like saying that in front of people is actually really cathartic. Like we'd use the term healing. It really is. Some people find those kind of terms a bit wanky, as you know, but it's like, it's there, whether you like it or not, whether you want to identify with this, whether you think that how you were between 0 and 6 is affecting you or not. You have no choice. Like you can't get away from it. You can pretend, fine. And some people don't want to go back. They don't need to, or they think they don't need to. It's there. So I think when you do group coaching as well, that's one of the reasons why it's so powerful, because you can actually be open and vulnerable. Not in a wet lettuce way, by the way, but like in a way that actually helps you. Okay, I'll get this off my chest. I'll say these things, and then you see the difference with performance.
Yeah, and that rings true with the programs. But my two main programs, there's a kind of 2-month thing that I call the blueprint, which is like ultimately pulling your socks up. There's a sort of fast kind of paced syllabus to support it, but then there's the deep accountability in terms of like what's not working, asking the whys, and getting to the root of the problems. But that's like getting people to a level. The following program that I've got is called the Collective, which is an ongoing rolling process, giving the ongoing accountability. But the feedback in both those groups is being able to share, talking about your problems and seeing and hearing that. It's just so incredibly powerful for the reasons that you said. And it's not everyone's all sitting around crying in the cornflakes, or it's a load of guys waving the knobs around. It's that shared experience. And when you hear and see that, it's really powerful for you, because you might see someone like, oh, I had a bit of a shit week. Someone goes, oh, I had a shite week. This happened, but I've done this instead. Like, that doesn't detract from you. It actually helps. And I think when you're immersed in that, it's powerful, because the whole thing as well is recognizing it isn't just me. Well, then it can also give you a bit of perspective. You might be moaning about something like the other week, guy had his missus had a miscarriage. He was really struggling about stuff, shared that. And like some guys who were also doing it, shared an experience. Now, that's not the sort of thing you normally sit around in the pub with your mates talking about, right? But it was really powerful for him. It was powerful for others. And actually, we and I helped him get through this and do, in the best way possible. But that comes from being sharing and being open, and use the word vulnerable, which is a bit wanky, but it's true. But actually, from the other side of that is strength. And like you said, because once it's out there, you realise I didn't just die, the world's not ended, I can share it. And actually, you got 3 other people that have come back and sort of said respect or whatever else, and it can be helpful. I think one-to-one coaching is very powerful. I still do it. But I guess for actual behaviour change, I think groups more powerful. I genuinely do. And I've now got thousands of hours where I can compare and contrast both. I've had gents that work me one-to-one. I've said, right, I think, right, go in the group. And then within 3 weeks, we've achieved what might have taken us 4 months in one-to-one. They're like, boom. It's like, because of that, the power, it's like coaching sort of cubed or squared. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Like, the challenge is that I also think that it's difficult. It's difficult for the coach to be able to deliver it. So that's one of the reasons why, you didn't start, or we didn't suggest people start it for a good, 3-4 years from even the beginning, because it's actually quite difficult. It's hard to explain, but it's quite difficult to kind of hold that space, that charisma, that listening space. And again, like, knowing when to shift from a listening place to actually like a bit of a, I think Alex Ferguson is always a good example of this. Like, if you read his, people talk about like the hairdryer and stuff like that. Yeah, if you read some of the autobiographies of like the players that came through, like Lee Sharp, etc., they'll talk about how like they just felt like he had his arm around them all the time. He was supporting them. It's like he was obviously very good at making people feel listened to and supported, but at the same time, the hairdryer comes out. And I think a good coach knows when and how to use both of those.
Totally.
But it's very, very different. It's like if you just start shouting at someone, before they trust you, they're just like,
no, who's this dickhead?
And rightly so. Like some, obviously you're an old man now, but like even like, some dude who, let's be honest, probably someone who earns like, 5, 6, 10 times what a business does that we might have. It's like, who the fuck is, it's not even earned respect. You've got to make them feel like you're on their side, like that you're doing it for the right reasons, not just I'm going to shout at someone. I think what you've got to do is you've got to gain people's trust. They've got to feel, and I mean feel, that you're on their side, that you listen. And I think, like, in short, I can talk about the best coaches that I've employed or worked for us. They made people feel incredibly listened to and special. And that sounds a bit wet, but they made if Alex Ferguson and professional footballers can feel like I'm actually listened to and this person's on my side. So then when he tells me to do something, you listen to them, I'll run through walls for him. Like Mourinho is the other one as well. People will just do whatever he says. They'll just run through walls. It's like, well, if it's working for these guys, then, maybe it's relevant for us. And I think that's the power of group as well.
Yeah.
And switch it.
And what he said there about, for me, the coach, a lot of the guys I speak to will be like, I just need to fucking kick up the arse. I'm lazy. I'm this and that. I'm like, okay, so you're a guy that's grown a great business. You're C-suite at a large business. You're a partner in a law firm. I don't imagine you're that lazy. Like, so why are you behaving lazily? And so me shouting at you going, fucking pull your socks up. Well, it might work brute force temporarily to do whatever it is we want, but that isn't going to be a long-term solution. So it's like, well, why? And helping you get to the root of that. Now, once we find the root,
that's where it can go a bit deeper, though, right? That's where it can go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, it might be a practical solution. It might be something else. But for me, they're the questions that need to be asked, because then you can actually address the fundamental issue underneath. But that speaks to that. Well, coaching isn't just shouting at someone to do something. It's also not telling everyone it's all fine when it's not, because that isn't helpful either. And so for me, I think the way I like to think about it, it's like part arm around the shoulder, part foot up the arse with the mirror in front of them. And it's like being able to hold the tension between those different states to be able to help someone see what's going on. And I think when coaching is done well, it does that, because you go, really? Is that saving you? And like, not in a, just like, okay, so you can do that, great. Well, what do you want the outcome to be? And not in a judgmental way. As I often have to say sometimes, I say, look, this isn't a reverse psychology question. Do you want that? Like, what do you want? And they go, well, no. It's like, okay, well then, so if it isn't, well, what are we going to do? And so it's been able to help see that. And I think that's where you hear words like accountability and discipline. And I think, those words can be misconstrued as to what I think it actually means. Like, you can be very forceful and strong and hold someone in the right space in a very challenging way, but it doesn't mean you're belittling them for something that they haven't done, or you're shouting at them or criticizing. It's like, no, I'm helping you see your place in what's going on. What the fuck do you want to do about it? and at that point, you're putting the ball back in their court, but giving them, hopefully, the insight and tools to be able to make that decision themselves, right? Because
I think even sorry, go on.
No, that's fine.
Even like you said there, like group coaching, if you think about it, like there's a thing called the law of consistency, which is when I say something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You would hope. So when I say something, there's all the studies about like when people label themselves a certain way of being, and then they're asked like a week later. I think there's in Cialdini's book, it's even that they did like a questionnaire around the neighborhood. Like, are you someone who cares about green issues? And for the people that said yes, and then they followed up a week later and said, would you put one of these signs in your garden? Which had nothing to do with green, but they were quite sort of socially active. I can't remember what it was. And the amount of people that said yes, that had also said yes the week before, that they are someone who has green issues, that cares about that, because we feel like we have to be consistent to what we say. And so if you're doing that to yourself, this is what I found, especially intelligent people, they're better at creating these mental crazy loops that excuse their behavior. Like if people are just dumb, they're not clever enough to figure out a way of getting out of this. Whereas the intelligent people are. When you say it out loud, number one, to your coach, but if you say it out loud and there's another group of men around, like you then come back the next week and say, yes, I said to Luke I was going to do it. Everyone else heard, but I've just not done it. It's like that's incredibly powerful, like, because we don't want to be in an environment with other men. And this is the same with women as well, where we say one thing and do another. We can convince ourselves, oh, it wasn't that important. The session will, I can do it tomorrow. I'll not eat the donut, or I'll not have the drink. I'll not have the third drink. So that's another reason why I think groups really powerful as well. This is all like the law of consistency. Like it's backed up by much cleverer people than us. We just learn how to put it into a system. And when someone sits there and goes, yeah, Tim, I'm not going to have the third drink, and then everyone hears, and I might just go, right, did everyone hear that? And it's like, you look at the difference between that when they come back the next week and they've probably not done it.
Yeah. But then when you ask them and you help challenge them in that environment, it's not like you're not doing it to belittle them in front of others, but you go, well, you said that, and why not? You can double down and go, do it better. Or go, well, why? Well, this, and this. But then they're then opening up in front of others and explaining more of what's going on and being more vulnerable. But then hopefully giving them more scope to be able to change it, right? You're not doing it to catch them out. That's not what it's about. It's about helping them.
I think it's the language that you use. Like, you're a good coach, so you'd understand. It's the language that you use when you're asking these people questions, so you don't trigger, especially with your clients. Like, you don't want to trigger egos. And I don't mean egos as in they've got big egos. I mean more like there's just defensiveness. Like, why didn't you do it? It's like, F you, who the hell are you? I mean, I know one of my clients, Matt, was like, he got a message from his client saying, I really hate you. Like, I've been thinking about it all week, how much I hate you. And then he's like, but I know you were right. And I'm like, yes, this is a good mate. And I was like, Matt, this is a very good sign.
Well, I had he joined the program, and he was a client. He's out of it now, but and he'd seen a post of mine, and he's told me since that he'd seen it, and it was like a photo of me walking along. It was a video of me walking along with Joy, I think, and it was like I can't remember exactly what it was, but the general theme was like, if it's Friday, you can't wait to open your bottle of wine, you're knackered and tired, and then you're wishing away until it's Monday and or I'm going to spend a lovely weekend, but it's based on what I do. And he was like, fuck you. Who are you to say that? Well, whatever, my fucking mind. And he's like, I could not get that out of my head. I just couldn't get it out of my head. And he came from the second, he was like, he's right. He's fucking right. He's right. And he'd speak to him. And so we talked and he signed up and he joined it. But I think it's that whole thing of like, you hear something and it might trigger your ego, but you go, yeah, but there's that little niggle that goes, hey, hold up, that's not what I want. And I think
Luke, that's why you've always been a good marketer, is because I think that you're very good at conveying that and getting that across. Like, I think you're very good. Did you ever meet Lazo? Do you know who he is? Did you ever hear me mention it? No. So I did a workshop with him and a webinar, and he showed up, used to be a big old bodybuilder. He's not anymore. He's like proper spiritual. And it was interesting because the first thing that he said when I introduced him, after giving him a big introduction and showing a picture of him looking henches, he said something like, oh, I'm just a teddy bear. just a big teddy bear. And I remember like thinking at the end of the course, like, why did he do that? And it's like, because he has this portrayal of this strength, like that he just physically, but also the way that he comes across. But he's like, I also need to make sure that people see that I'm, that I've got that side where I've got like, can he move mountains? Will he move them for me? And it's like, I think that's why your marketing is so good, is because there's clearly a lot of strength, but there's also a lot of understanding. Like, you're not a dick, like, because you're Northern. I don't know why. It's because you're Northern, you seem to get away with it. Then if you were some posh sort of public school boy, everyone would be like, who's this fucking idiot? And I think I like, even like the trolling that you get on ads, or used to get on ads, I'm like, I just think it's a really good combination. And I think you're very good at understanding actually where people are without judgment, but at the same time, like pointing fingers at things like that. I'm not surprised that made him annoyed, but then, okay, but that's because he's right.
But I think the key is, and it's tricky to the nuances, it's not doing it in a preachy way, or I'm holding it now. And I hope, and then I try and on these podcasts and I talk to my clients, like I like to use myself an example in a negative way. Not for like virtue signaling, just to go, I am as fallible and fucked as everyone else, right? I've got my own issues. And so, but it's going, it doesn't stop that. Just because I'm saying it doesn't mean it's still not a thing, right? And I'm not perfect and I don't do it all right all the time, but I think it's helping someone see that, right? And that's the power. We've chatted for a while already, Tim, and I think me and you could probably speak for another 4 hours. So I want to sort of like bring things to a little bit of a close. Before I do that, one question I wanted to ask you, which was an interesting one, and it probably will open a big can of worms, but we worked together. We had the IFBC. It was pretty transformational for my business, and it helped me put together the group bit. And then, the name is exactly me and you spitballed on a call, and we came up with the 1%. It was coming more from the ego point then. It's now transmuted. It's very much the little 1%, but that's where we came up with it. But then you stopped it, right? The business out looking in, it looking like it was flying, and then you just went, boom, stop. Like, what was it? Because it's always interesting to talk to people about like these events that make you suddenly make a course correction. What was it that made you decide to literally pull the plug on what looked like a successful business?
Having a value of the business, and both me and Philip, of growth, and in hindsight, it was the right decision. It came from the right decision-making process, but in hindsight, it was not favourable. We'd always been okay to stop things, close things down, because we wanted to do the next thing.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. We had a little program. I say a little program. It was doing 6 figures, which for coaching business is pretty good. It was mostly hand, called I think the online coaching machine or something. And we realized that we just weren't going to get where we wanted to with it. And so we had this discussion and was like, right, let's just close it. And we just closed it. And it was only, it was only a decent amount of money, but it's never going to get us where we want to get to. So it wasn't that we hadn't done that 3, 4, 5 times. We made a lot of big decisions, and because we knew where we wanted to go. And I think that if I was being honest, we got a little bit carried away. We had some advice from coaches, but I'm not ever going to say they gave us bad advice. No, we decided, I spent a lot of money with a coach once, and I was like, he didn't oversell me. I overbought. I decided that I would pay that sort of money. I'm an adult. I take responsibility for my own decisions. So we had a bit of a dialogue with a couple of coaches that we were working with. And if I was honest, maybe one of them didn't quite know enough about what we were doing. And if in hindsight, the advice I think that could have been useful would be, right, just slow down and sort of and put the business in a better place to be able to make different moves for a bit. Now I don't know. You could say maybe we got greedy. I don't know. We hit the numbers that we want to hit. We did it. We spent a lot of time building to 7 figures, which for a coaching business is not bad.
Yeah.
And then we're like, right, we want to do 8. We rode the wave of COVID for sure. And so we were like, right, we want to do 8. And again, someone maybe could have pointed out, look, this is the kind of people that are doing those sort of numbers. This is how long it might take, etc. And so we just were told, and we knew anyway that we weren't going to build an 8-figure business in what we were doing.
Yeah.
In hindsight, now sitting here, it wasn't the best decision that I've made. So that was the main reason. Maybe, I think everyone's heart needs to be in everything that you're doing. And maybe it wasn't totally everyone their heart was in what we had built and wanted to build something new, like something bigger, something more scalable. I had a lot more to do with, obviously I'm talking about Phil, like I had a lot more to do with the working within the business, which I'd say I liked probably more. So yeah, I don't know. I think that is, you could say greed, or you could just say that it was competence and growth. And in hindsight, the way that we made decisions was very good. Was that one the best? Probably not. But that's like United, like attacking in the late 90s. They'll lose a game, like they will, of course they will. But their ethos is attacking, and overall it did them a favour. For us, I don't know. Overall, I remember, it definitely did us favours, by the way.
Yeah.
But it was, I think people were surprised, to put it that way.
Yeah. I think there's one of those ones, there's the burn the bridges idea, or there's the, well, can we restructure what we've got to make it a thing that we want? And I think, because as you said as well, you'd almost created something where it was like, we got these numbers, maybe created a monster is too strong, but it wasn't like what you envisaged. And it's like, well, I don't want that, I want something different, and we want that new thing. And so maybe it was again, hindsight, you could have restructured it, but equally, you now learn and you are here what you're doing. I suppose, and the next question off that is like, what was your key learning having done that now? Having grown a large business, started doing again and doing what we do now, what would you take from it?
I definitely think that the decision making and the strength of that is very good. Maybe I would have looked at values and what was important individually, maybe, and I'm not saying that other people did or didn't. Like, I clearly, because I'm doing it now, I love what I do. I loved what we created. I loved the community. I loved the people that we were involved with, like you guys that were clients, the coaches. I think we created something really, really special, really good. Or from my perspective, anyway. I'm sure there's something.
No, I'd agree. When I was in it, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, and like we had some really, really, really good people. And maybe if I'd look back now, like, did I really? Obviously, you want to earn more money. Like, by the way, it doesn't mean that you're going to, because just because you do more profit doesn't always mean that you actually make more money. I don't know. Maybe it would have been, look at the values of not just growth, or what growth means. Does it just mean finances, or does it also just mean community, development people? I don't know. I think, by the way, it's easier when there's one person, because you only decide for what you want, not a group of people that all have their own wants and needs as well. So, probably as well, pay yourself first is probably another one that I would learn next time as well. That's certainly. But again, you don't know at the time, do you? Like,
no,
we were. I don't want to say, look, if I say we were out of our depth, I don't think that's true, but I also think everyone is out of their depth at one point when they step up. Like, everyone is. So, next time, if there's a next time, just learn from the mistakes and the decisions that weren't the best decisions. Learning a lot now, like, obviously, as running a business on your own is very different to running it with a team or a bigger team. I've got a small team now. So, yeah, I think that's probably it. I think just really working on your values and like what's important to you. And again, it's much easier when there's just one person.
Yeah, that speaks to, I mean, the more meta coaching approach anyway, right? Which is, something happens, what do we learn? Ask yourself the whys, understand and unpick it. And then, what is it? It's only a failure if you don't learn from it, or whatever. Whatever kind of like cliche you want to throw at it. And so there's always insight there. But also, I guess, it's important, I think, when you said about the values bit, because that's something that I work on with clients, and it's sort of the narrative underneath all this. It's like, what's important, what matters, what do I want, and of course you need to pay the bills and support people, and if you've got family, all that stuff. So there's that, but also on the flip side, there's the piece around like, well, like what do I actually want to need, and is yes, we could make, and I had this conversation with a client in the program the other week actually, is that, well, he runs quite a large business. They want to get another 10 million to revenue next year, and he's gone, well, before we do that, why? Just why?
Do you know what? When you were saying that, it's exactly what
because I want the time and I want to be able to have balance and all the rest of it. And so, like, do we actually want to do that? And so, for exactly what we're just saying there, and it's not to say don't, it's just saying, well, with that, there's no solutions, only trade-offs. Will come other things. And so, just being clear, like, same with my business. Like, by the way, I work my fucking bollocks off and I love it. And Kate's now working for the business. And it's great, and I want to grow it. And there's all sorts of cool stuff we're doing. But equally, could I spend a bit more time on my business? I probably could. But the stage of life I'm at with 3 young kids, like, me having autonomy and being able to have that time is as valuable as an extra 5 or 10 grand I might earn over the year, or whatever. I mean, it's hard to quantify, but do you know what I mean? And so right now, that's it. Now, in 5 years, when they're a bit older and got a bit more time, that might be different. It doesn't mean I'm just sitting my fucking heels kicking, drinking pina coladas. Very much not. But it's been able to ask those questions for yourself objectively rather than just do it because. And I think a lot of the gents I often work with is they are successful, they want to succeed, but they're almost getting stuck in that trap of just push. But then it's often starting to compromise everything else, and so it's like, well, what do you want and what's important? I've asked one way is right, but it's been able to just be clear on that, right?
I've asked a question like, when is, like, loads of clients this, like, when is it enough? Like, when is it enough? When are you going to be able to stop working? By the way, I do this myself, right? So when is it going to be enough? What point? How much money you're going to make, and then you're going to be like, okay, now I'm okay. And they laugh because I know that the question is like, well, they're still going to behave like that. I think that most people don't. How can I say it the right way? I don't think most people understand how we often make decisions, or we're not aware of how we make decisions. So, is there a version of us that was acting from ego? Because it's like, well, why would you want a 8-figure business? If I'd had a personal coach and they had asked me that, I would have had to actually explain with words why I want it. And it might be, you know what, after they asked me the right questions, and I'm just like, you know what, because I want a fucking 8-figure business, and I want to be a baller, and I just want to do it because my ego likes it. Yeah. And by the way, I don't actually think there's anything wrong with that. I actually think that's okay. It's like, you know what, it's status. Because if we actually fully understand, like, as we're talking about men, like for me, how men work, like, status is important to men. You can get all upset about it and say, oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm not for. It's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like, this is truisms, my opinions anyway. Well, it's not my opinions. Other people's that are much cleverer than mine. So if you had asked us, like, was it anything to do with status? Yes, for sure. And so I think that when you've got a coach that actually asks you these questions to really get to the bottom of it, like you said, what would be more, what would I have done with the money? Like, I would have loved to have gone and bought a $10 million business. I don't know how much money do you take out of that? Who knows? It's not like I don't want those things. I do. And by the way, it's not like you're promising that it will happen. It's difficult, of course, the next step. But actually, what else is important? Like, what was it that Tony Robbins talks about 6 human needs, which I think is a really good framework, because it's very simple. It's like, what was it when we built such a really awesome business that we got? It wasn't the money probably wasn't even in the top 5. Like, of course you can say that when you're making it, by the way. And obviously some people be like, well, yeah, it's right for you. When you've got money, you don't have to think about it. So what else was it? Things like contribution, like, it is significance, like it is however much we would feel a bit discomfort about that. It's like there is a significance when you have a big group program, all of this stuff. That I liked it. I enjoyed it. I loved doing what I was doing. I think I was pretty good at it as well. And I think people got a lot out of it. So all this contribution. So there's a lot of, where do we make decisions from? Is it made from this desire, this smaller self, lower self of just eventually, if I do X, I'll be enough? The reality is you won't. Like, it's not going to fix it. At the same time, it's like, you know what? No, I want to build this bigger business because, you know what? Actually, like, this is a lot of what I'm doing now. Like, there's a version of me that's like, I want to improve the bits that I'm not traditionally good at. And I would say being in a business partnership that I think works very well is that there was things that other people are very good at and one person's not, and it just works quite well for whatever reason. And there's not that many people that are good at like everything or all parts. So a lot of me at the moment is like, what am I doing that I'm not good at or haven't traditionally been good at? I shouldn't say I'm not good at, that I haven't learned to be good at, that other people in the business were very good at, and I can learn to be better.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that I've traditionally not been the strongest at. And you know what? Sometimes I'm like, it's probably just because I didn't bother learning, because I wasn't good at it. So I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to go and sell. You know, when I first joined, I joined, I worked with Glenn. I stopped working with Glenn. I went and joined this guy's program. He was called Ben. And in week 1, they sent me like a business plan. And to be honest, I just refunded. I was like, look, keep the first month. Yeah, I don't like all that. And then I just went and joined Travis, who was Glenn's coach. And Travis was like, right, let's go and sell some shit. And I was like, right.
That'll do. Yeah.
Now, 3 years later, I'm like, you know what? I should have actually done the business plan thing. That's really what I needed, but I wasn't very good at it, and I was very good at sales. So I think that these decisions, like, where is it coming from? Is it coming? And it's hard to know, by the way. Most people just haven't. There's a good book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. It's like, it's a fantastic way of looking at like the archetypes of boy and men. And I really like that, because I think even just the little triangle things, like a lot of the decisions we make are from lower self. If we can make as many of them as possible from that higher self, I think we're doing quite well. Like, you know, did we make that decision from higher or lower self? You know, there's probably bits from both. There's probably bits that, you know, if we can do this, it's going to feel something. I don't know what. If we got, you know, if we'd got to the 10 million, would everything have been different?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah,
it's not going to fix everything. It's not going to, you know, if there's issues that are there, and the money's not going to change things. I think the work that you do to get to that place is the thing that changes things.
Yeah. It's been great chatting, because it's really interesting to go back in time and chew the fat and talk about where you've come from. Bottom line from both of us, I would say, is it's important to have a coach, even though we've both got skin in the game and are very biased, but it's a very important thing.
I thought it was going to be a no from you. I was surprised. There was this bit, he needs to do it. And I remember thinking he needs to. But I couldn't explain why you needed to. Anyone who's listening, it's like just that one decision of going, yeah, I'm going to do this, can be the difference between that and that. And by the way, I'm not saying that you wouldn't have got there anyway on your own.
But I think the point is making a decision and then committing to something and being open with it is the power of what coaching's about. And that's what I say to all the guys I work with in this. And I think if you're in a situation where you want to change, be that with your business, be that with yourself, it starts with a decision to change. And then what a coach can do is help facilitate that, or a good coach, right? Tim, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Like I said, if anyone's watching or listening and they want to get in touch, drop me a note in the comments or DMs, and I'll put Tim's details in as well. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.